Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. In my videos, sometimes I just bring you along on a project. In this video, I'm starting the covers for the butterfly journals. And I had this gorgeous wrapping paper that Mary, a subscriber here, had sent to me. And I was trying to figure out how many could I make with it. And then I'm using up my sticky specs. I thought these were going to be the most amazing new product for die cutting with. I did not find them to be a joy in using with die cuts, but I decided they're adhesive, they're perfectly great, I have them, so I used them for journal covers. Notice I didn't put them where I'm going to stitch. They came in those two separate pieces and that was perfect. I just moved them each to the end. I have used sticky specs before and tried to stitch through them. It's not very pleasant. You certainly can do it, but you'll wonder what the heck and why is this so hard? I put a tiny bit of wet adhesive around the edges just to be sure that everything's stuck, and then I laid them out. And at the time, I hadn't decided how many I was going to make. I've actually started 7 butterfly journals. Then I tore it with my ruler, which if you watch Gail Agostinelli, she tears giant papers all the time, or little papers, with her ruler. It's great. You don't need to worry about getting your paper cutter or your scissors. I got a bit of adhesive on the counter, but look at that paper. Isn't it gorgeous? So those will be the outside. And then I'm just folding. If you haven't seen me do this, I have other videos, I'm sure, where I made covers. You can ask me or look for one. But I just thought, you could see how I would do a bunch at a time. Once you have all the adhesive out and you found your bone folder and you found the envelopes, you can go for it. If the paper is thin, the manila envelopes will show through. So if you have white ones, use those. Otherwise, you could just layer up paper and make like a big glued up masterboard thing. You don't have to have a manila folder. I have a bunch of them from an estate sale, so I use them. And I was just smearing the glue out with my finger. Nothing scientific. And I find that art glitter glue is very forgiving, and I wasn't sure how these wrapping papers would be. When you use the same brand of scrapbook paper, you have an idea, but when you switch between different wrapping papers and napkins and all that, you have to be a little more careful about your adhesive, and art glitter glue doesn't usually let me down. I do need to clean out the nozzle a little bit on mine. So I'm just folding those over, gluing them down. I'm getting adhesive all over myself, and I'm totally fine with that. If you're picky about that, then use something else. You'll see that on another one, I'm going to switch to glue stick. I have gel matte medium, I have wet adhesive, I have glue sticks. I don't have like fancy glue sticks. I don't know if that matters, but I try it all. And I just didn't want to use gel matte medium because I was doing so many of them and I knew I would have it everywhere. Now this green wrapping paper, again, is from Mary. It is thinner than the cream colored. The cream colored one is like luscious, and this is more like an American wrapping paper that you're used to. So you'd have to be more careful with the glue or it would buckle and bubble, and also just in working with it, be more careful. What I usually do is I like to wrap the outside just like you saw, and then on the inside I make it so that regardless of how I wrapped it, it's forgiving enough, it cuts enough, covers enough up. And I'm just trying to figure out, okay, should it be another 1/4 of an inch shorter? Depending on how papers curl and move together, it's not always the same size. Like I didn't cut 4 exactly the same size. It depends on how well I folded those edges around the manila folder. Did I get them tight enough? And then I'm folding it and checking it and making sure, okay, there's one. Now we're going to get some more ready. And I did some with green on the outside and some with green on the inside. And later in those videos, or as the butterfly journals get done, you'll see all of those. Okay, now for the thinner paper, I did not think that I was going to be able to pull it off with art glitter glue and smearing it around like I had done. So then I got into the gel matte medium. This is an interesting video just because I use so many adhesives like a crazy person, and that's okay. There's no rule. So what I did was I taped down a large piece that I'm going to use, and I used it as my mat so that it's not all over my glass mat and I don't have to clean it off. So there's one. There's another one. I try to get it kind of in the same spot, but you do end up doing it this way with gel matte medium on the outside, which I think to some extent is fine. And I had to put it on the edges a little just because it was so flimsy, I guess is the word, fine. And I couldn't get it to lay down. And then I went back and touched those edges after they dried with some art glitter glue. Then this is a big gluey mess. I decided to put the glue on the manila folder instead of on the wrapping paper just because it was kind of precious. You know, it wasn't real sturdy. So if you put it on the wrapping paper and you get it a little too thick, or you take too long to work it and then come back over it, you can tear it. So if you have a really fine paper like a napkin or something, it's always easier to just slap that glue onto the sturdiest paper you're working with. Here we go. Here's another one. And I'm cleaning out the brush. Then we're going to do some more. And think about the humidity and the heat and all of that, and adjust your speed to that. Because if it's hot and dry, you have to work fast. There we go. Smeared it out with a bone folder. And then I'm just mitering those corners. If you've ever done any sewing or quilting, you know, and some people are better at it. You know, some days I'm good, some days not so good. I kind of loved the edge of this paper where it had the information about where it was from and where it was made. I just thought it was cute, kind of like junk journal-ish. So I was trying to use that and cut it in. And because I did it with the ruler, it wasn't super straight, and I was trying to get everything tightened up and straightened out for the inside. Look at that. The two of them together, I just love. It's great. Now, if you wanted to, if you had a giant piece of paper, you could wrap it all the way around that manila folder and do the same inside and out. There are literally no rules. You could just glue the two together and cut around them. You don't have to miter your corners. You could use a sewing machine if you have them, whatever. And any glue you want. Do not ever run out and buy anything just because I have it. Because sometimes I have stuff I don't like, but I have it. I got it for free. Someone gave it to me. I thought I needed it. I bought it. Always ask me before you buy something just because I have it, because I just might have had an off day. Look at them. How cute are these? So what you see here is under each rock, this is the cover to one of the butterfly journals. And these covers were chosen either because they had butterflies or because I thought they would go great with butterflies, or for some reason they spoke to me. And then this one is Thissy. They were wrapping paper from our friend Mary, and this was a napkin that one of you sent me. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And same here, napkin and napkin. And I don't know how napkins hold up on the cover of a journal, but they were too pretty not to use. And what I've done is I made myself a fancy Post-it, and it kind of gives me the update of where each one is. I number them, and the first one will be done first. In most cases. I mean, unless one inspires me, maybe on winter journals or something I got out of line. But this one has 10 pages, it has some vellum in it, and it has a bag or an envelope. And we're at the point where everything is folded and pretty much close to size. I'm going to need some trimming. I haven't thought about the sequence. I feel like that clock might be upside down. But I've gotten some things in here that I think work. Does that make sense? And then it will get some individual attention as if I was only making one journal. But this part, I'm just doing it assembly line somewhat. This one has 10 pages. It has some vellum. It has an envelope and bag. I think it's probably going to be called the pink one. I don't know. This one has 11 pages and 2 sheets of vellum. Let's take a peek. There will be flip throughs in the end when these are done, but it just gives you an idea. And I have separated color families to some extent. This one is pretty like hot, almost primary-ish inside. And this one has a lot of pink. This one, I don't know where it's going yet. It only has 6 pages, so I haven't totally figured it out. This one only has 2. That one just has some vellum and stuff. And that one doesn't even have an actual page yet. So you can see how they're coming together. It is Sunday at 4:16. So I'm about done for this weekend. And I don't know how that's going to work out for me because I have a lot planned for April, but we'll see. I'm going to show you what the room looks like too, because I know many of you wonder that. Yep, this is really what I was working in. I was working right here, and that's part of why I'm not filming as I go. I film here, but I'm doing really repetitive stuff. I trimmed adhesive and glued paper inside 4 covers just now. It wasn't exciting, I promise. Then I was digging through this for paper. All of these are out because Tina sent me a bunch of them. I haven't cleaned them up. Then I made sympathy cards. This was used on a different project. I just haven't cleaned. And usually I put dirty stamps in the drawer, but it's too full to shut at this point. So yeah, I think I should stop and get tidied up and ready for the week. I mean, look at this. We're about to have a craft-a-lanch here. We do not want all these die cuts to fall down, right? He's had a busy day barking at the neighbors. He's been a lot to handle today. Okay, then this has been the table that I was working off of yesterday evening. Today, Sunday, I have mostly taken them from, I'll try and find a clip and tell you the sequence. The covers were stood up in the back and I was putting stuff in the piles that went color-wise. And today I tried to get them to done enough to fold the cover because I didn't have paper on the inside of some of the covers. I still need to like trim pages and do some stuff. I think we need some lace and textiles on the pages, don't you think? These are girly journals. They're springish. They're creative, flowy. Maybe not all of them. I mean, 7 is a lot anyway. But maybe like number 2, it needs some lace. I mean, if you're going to have a pink cover like this, shouldn't you have lace? I didn't clean up from the sale. So I have all the stuff that Noni picked up recently and so much more. So I could put that on there. Last night, I was going through this table and saying, okay, what would I use for journal pockets? I sorted those. What would I use for tags and journaling cards, ephemera? And I was digging through to make sure that I had gotten all of the paper out that I wanted for the pages. This is 2 sheets of 12 by 12 paper left on the table. This one I'm not sure about. This one I'm probably going to use the cut aparts. These are stickers. So I was trying to get down to the bottom layer, which I did manage to do. That's what's going on here. Some of this stuff has nothing to do with the table, but water and hand lotion are crucial for crafting, right? This paper ended up here because I was going to use it on the inside of a journal, and then, I don't know, it didn't make the cut last minute. Something beat it. This tub over here, I know, it's a crazy video, but sometimes you guys like these. This tub is papers that I think may still go into butterfly journals. You can see, remember when we had the sentiment and paste using video? These are from that day. And I didn't do a good job keeping track as I assembled the journal piles, which ones already have stencils and pastes in them. So that might be something that I add to my list here and say, okay, this one already has some stenciling or some mixed media in it, just to add interest. I also want to be sure I don't end up with 3 silver clock stencils in there. But like I always say, if there's a page in a journal you don't like, you can always rip it out. It is Sunday, April 10th. So as far as getting these done in April, I'm still doing great, but I haven't started my sewing journal and I haven't started my school cards yet. So I have a lot of projects. Now it is Sunday, April 17th. So another week has gone by. I have pulled a journal out of the pile and started working with it individually. I've gotten a bunch of stamps out and I'm experimenting with which ones. Between Noni and I, we have so many butterfly, change, pretty flowers, spring, great stuff. And I'm just mixing them in. This one has a lot of artsy papers, so I'm stamping directly on them. That front cover, I'll flip back there or you'll see it at some point. I stamped on it before I turned the camera on. The paper had black on it and it looks amazing. My stamp looks like it was born there. And then I think I'll probably layer or put some clusters around next to them. Haven't really gotten that far yet. Here, I was trying to recreate it and have it be as cute as it was on the inside front cover where I stamp on the paper that already has black. And I'm just testing these stamps. Some of them I've never even used, and I got it on the counter. if you're going to stamp on tissue, keep that in mind and clean it up right away if you're messy like me, because I would have had it on everything. The stamp block that I'm using there is thinner, and I left the other stamps on the blocks because I'll use them in other places. And on this one, I was torn because horizontal and vertical, and now I'm staring at it and fiddling with it. I don't like fonts that have little gaps in them to look artsy. Do you know what I mean? Then when you stamp it, it almost looks like you did a bad job. And I didn't realize that was one of those stamps. I'll probably take a black pen and touch it up so that the letters look a little more solid. That's just my preference. I don't know what those fonts are called, but I have a couple of stamps that every time I use them, I think I should throw this away, but I like the birds in the set. I have plenty of other videos where I sew journals together, so don't worry that I'm going to go super fast and mess with this one. But then I changed my mind and went, oops, I want to do some border punching. And my Martha Stewart butterfly punch gave me some trouble. Now, honestly, I know the butterfly one is newer to me than some of the other ones, so maybe it has some glitches and I just didn't notice. Then I couldn't figure out how to line it up because I flipped the paper over. Have you guys caught on to that? So then I realized, oh wait, I had it the other way. I get it lined up. These punches are super simple. Okay, this is early morning crafting and what happens to you. Then I just round the edge off to get that, fluff some of my butterflies that struggled. Now we're going to sew it together. And this one has stenciling and stamps and vellum, and it has a junk mail envelope in it. So I'm just trying to check it all before I sew it together. Get out another Martha Stewart punch. This one goes much better. I left in the butterfly one so you could see that, just because I have a YouTube channel doesn't mean everything works great when I do it. There's some muttering along the way, but isn't that punch cute? I don't know how you like things, but I don't like all the pages to be the same. I want some to have butterfly punches, some to have cutesy little edges, and then some to be plain, maybe some torn. Now here, I have this mail envelope in there, and I'm trying to be sure that it will get hit by at least one solid stitch. I'd like it to pick up 2 stitches. So I'm fiddling with that a little bit. And then I'm making a template because I think I gave mine away for a basic 9-inch journal. So I just take a piece of cardstock, not too thick because it folds better, a weird color so it stands out when I lose it on the counter. And then I'm folding, that's the middle punch. And then I decided to use a ruler and measure out. Sometimes I fold, but I was trying to get it just right for that envelope. And if I didn't like it for other journals, I can make another one. But I wouldn't make your template out of your favorite color because it'll get lost on the counter. If you craft with pink all the time and you make your template in pink, kiss it goodbye. Now, you don't have to have a template, but it is nice, and especially if you're planning on making 7 in a row. Take the template out before you start stitching. I was half a second away. I just about put that needle through. Now, I had a heck of a time on this one. So, in fact, I even sped it up because it was painful to do. It was painful to watch. I don't know what I did. I think I haven't always used waxed linen. I used embroidery floss a lot. And you have to poke a nice big hole if you're going to use waxed linen. It's big and sticky, and I have to use a needle with a bigger eye. And I think I just didn't poke that one hole enough. And I used brown waxed linen thread on this, which is great because when I bought them in their little box that you see on the counter, that black and white box, or black and cream, it came with brown, and I haven't used it at all. So I think I will use it as much as I can on these. And then I'm just checking it to make sure every once in a while you miss something or you get a loop. So just testing it out, tying it. Some people tie bows. That's very cute. I'm not really a good bow tire. Earlier in the week, I had stitched some textiles in. It's Tuesday morning, April 19th, before work. And I wanted to show you what I've done. I worked on it some last night and a little bit Sunday evening. The butterfly journal setup had gotten out of control. This is the station where I'm working, and I had the 7 lined up. And then this is how my table looks now. You can see that I've gotten it cleared down to table. we're starting to get there. This is ephemera and things that could layer up. This is a stamp set that should be over here. Goodies that I haven't finished sorting. Tools, so stencils, dies, stamps, miscellaneous leftovers, stuff that wasn't necessarily specific to butterfly journals, and some things that got away that should be out of there. I was sorting some of these while I was watching TV, so I haven't, sorted them all together. Then what I have going here is like a station. This is my bag where all of the journals are living right now. Well, my container where their bags are. So I've got a pink one, and I've got the hot nature one, which I'm working on, a yellow, green, 7 doesn't have a plan yet. And then this is the counter where they're coming together. So this is one of them, and I'm trying to figure out, am I going to put this lace on the front? Would that be kind of cool? It has a little bit of a spot, but I think I could wash it up and it'd be stunning. Then this one is actually, I picked it out of the lineup, and it is the furthest along. I don't know what number it is. I don't know them by heart yet, so I'm still figuring it out. That one's number 3. And it just, when I was cleaning up the counter, it's the furthest. It's the only one that's sewed together so far. This is ephemera and goodness to make clusters out of or decorate a page. You can see I've got the littles in here, loose items. This is tags and journal cards, scraps, big pages, because there's all at such varying situations. They don't have all their pages in them. Now, I've got an oops in here because if you had asked me, I would have said there's nothing in there with journal cards. So I've got a couple things in here that need to be pulled out that don't go there. This is pockets, tucks, and envelopes. And you can see my super fancy masking tape and Sharpie method. I know lots of you label things and it's very consistent. I like to move mine around. This might get too big. I might need to replace it. I had no idea that a good setup to work on 7 journals, well, I don't know if it's a good setup, at a time would require a plastic tub, this, and this. So I don't have those normally labeled for this. I think if you always make cards or you always make one journal at a time, you get an idea of how you like things set up. But I'm constantly adapting. And there may come a moment where I clean all this stuff up and deal with this box of 70 card bases that I have sitting here waiting for me. And I feel like once you get to a certain point, working on one at a time works better for the embellishing, because I wouldn't be able to remember. I was having trouble when I was trying to work on 4 at a time. I was having trouble remembering what went into each. So I did have a Post-it where I was tracking, okay, this one already has some vellum. I don't know. I think maybe I should have kept going with all 7 of them laid out a little bit longer, because it would have been nice to finish the page part. But honestly, I think I just got bored. So I switched gears. So that's how I'm doing it. If you have an idea for an assembly line for 7 journals, let me know. And thanks so much to Noreen for saying, line them all up and go for it. And I did. I had a nice, cute layout. And I think when I get to sewing them together, I'll go back to clean counter and all of them in a row, because I sewed this one mostly so I could get an idea of how much do I want to stamp in it, how much pockets. I haven't decided if I'm going to do some of them more naked than others and call it done so that the recipient can finish. I just haven't decided. So I wanted to see what one looked like together and how this cover laid out. Maybe it was the suspense of knowing. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're taking time for crafting and relaxing. Bye-bye.